Majority of the current beer ordinance has not been updated since 1985. Since then, the state law has changed and different requests have, since that time have arisen. Your attachment A is a copy of our current ordinance for comparisons. And so, just to highlight some of the changes in the new ordinance, there's going to be a requirement that the applicant must be present at the beer board meeting to receive the permit. We're going to have, there's a section about public consumption. There's an enhanced definition section. There's a revision to the special occasion beer permit, a modified on-premise consumption permit requirement, beer permit sales within hotels, revised serving hours to correspond with Knox County and the City of Knoxville, and improved revocation or suspensions in civil penalty sections. And staff recommends the approval of Ordinance 11-24 on first reading. And any questions you may have.
Pretty much the standard, would you say, in municipalities around the state of Tennessee right now?
A lot of it is. I've actually taken samples from all over Tennessee, really. I've taken a bulk of our original ordinance, added to it, and then added more on top of that just to go with the requests that we've had to define certain areas a little better. So yes.
I do know that the permit beer sales within the hotels is.
That was a request about 6 months ago from what's the newest hotel? Hampton Inn, and that was one of their requests. Is in their City of Knoxville hotels, they're able to sell beer, kind of like in a little convenience store, but our existing ordinance did not allow for that at all. So that's kind of what the catalyst behind all this. And once I got into that, we just redid the whole thing.
Well,
Motion to approve.
motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I just would like to thank you, Mrs. Myers, for all the work you did in putting this together. It's very well done, and we really do appreciate that, because I do believe it's needed to be amended for some time.
Yes.
Okay, let me get this straight here. Okay, now we're going to business items. The first order of business is approval of change order number 1, contract 2011-12, the farm at Willow Creek.
Early on in this project, in fact, as staff was putting together the contract for this project, we anticipated that our contractor would probably run into voids along the pipe trench as they were replacing the pipe in this subdivision. In fact, we included line items in the contract that for items that could be used in the event that they do run into a void, they would be able to plug it up. There are methods of plugging these voids, plugging open throats. We tend to prefer the TDOT's methods in that, and we had included these items in the contract. A couple of weeks ago, our contractor, Blaylock & Sons, ran into one fairly large void that our staff was out there the whole time. In fact, we were there when they discovered the void, and we stayed with them until it was completed, until it was plugged. It required quite a bit of graded solid rock, 57 stone, concrete, and flowable fill, and that doesn't come without an additional cost to us. The contract prices allowed a cost of $19,546.90 for this repair, and staff recommends approval.
For my purpose, Darrell, the certainly uninitiated on defining these phrases, what is a void exactly? And could you give me a feel for the scope of the void?
Well, the project, of course, was to replace the existing pipe that was leaking in there. When you have a constant flow of water over a period of time flowing around that pipe or flowing outside the joints of that pipe, it will tend to wash away the soils around it, around the trench. In this case, there was a fairly large void that water will make its way outside the trench if you have enough of it. And in this case, it had departed from the trench, headed off in another direction, and it created an open throat. The only way really to fix that is to excavate that open throat down to solid rock. In this case, the contractor went down about 35 to 37 feet below existing grade to get to solid rock, and then you have to dump graded rock, the large boulders, 3-foot boulders, into the hole. Cover that with 57 stone. That allows drainage. Any groundwater that is in that area can continue to flow, but you still want to plug that up. You cover that with concrete, about 2 feet of concrete in this case, and then flowable fill was required up to the elevation of the bottom of the manhole. It was a really big hole. It's like taking a giant cork and just well, it's $20,000 cork for that matter. But it's really the only way to fix these items when they come up. And like I say, staff was out there the entire time, and this work was done at our direction.
With this void being corrected, where are we on the project now in terms of completion of this effort? I know it's been a very arduous task, and again, applaud your and staff's effort on this. It's been a tremendous amount of time.
Blaylock has made some very substantial progress on this. If you've been up there, you're welcome to drive up. If you're familiar with it, well, you have it on the screen up there. They are almost back to the intersection right there. They're right at the intersection today. I don't know if you can point on that. I can't. But I can't. Well, I should be able to. Thank you. They're up to that point that is circled there, and once they get through that, they're on the home stretch right now. The pipe is not nearly as deep as it is further to the east. All of that pipe to the east of that point has been replaced. It's being backfilled right now, and they're moving along very quickly.
I was out there. It was a big hole.
It was a very big hole.
A big, deep hole, and you could put a house in there. I am curious about how we approved these. I guess these unit prices were in the contract.
They were.
$450 per cubic yard or 3,000 PSI concrete. I know I can buy that for $85 a yard. I'm wondering what the other $375 is for.
We weren't particularly thrilled with that price on the concrete, but we asked them. We included these for the items that are put in the hole. However, you still have to excavate down to solid rock. And the contract called for, you had to include the excavation costs in these items. So it's really up to the contractor to come up with a price. They want to be competitive, but they want to cover their additional costs that aren't included in this. The $19,000 does not include any cost for that additional excavation that was required to make this repair. So yes, it does give you unit prices that sound very high, particularly on that concrete price.
Yeah.
But we tried to limit the amount of concrete that went into this hole as much as possible.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments from the board? If not, do I hear a motion that we approve change order number 1 for contract 2011-12, the farm at Willow Creek Drainage Project? Second? I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next order of business is the approval of Resolution R-2011-09, approval of suspending the issuance of special event permits during the Shop Farragut program. Excuse me, we're on business item B. It's approval of the revised stormwater drainage policy.
Yes, back in the early 90s, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approved a drainage policy that outlined the responsibilities of the town versus the responsibilities of property owners for maintenance of drainage ways, drainage easements, and swales across private property. The biggest reason for that policy really was to outline how the town could enter into a cost share with property owners so that, well, if you had a drainage way in your backyard and you really didn't want that drainage way back there, if you purchased the pipe, the town of Farragut Public Works would go in and install it for you. It was roughly a 60-40 cost share, 50-50. Bud, would you agree that was probably a 50-50 cost share with the property owners as far as the value of the Public Works doing that work versus the cost of the pipe? It was really a sweetheart deal for the property owners. And we've had a number of citizens that have taken us up on that policy over the years. The problem with that policy, though, is it included a lot of ambiguity as far as who is responsible for what. Now, in the early 2000s, the town of Farragut became a Phase 2 community as far as NPDES requirements. One of those requirements is that we strongly discourage the installation of pipe to carry stormwater runoff when a drainage way or a swale will do. The reason for that is as stormwater runs through a swale, it is filtered a good bit by grass, plants, other things within the swale, and at the same time, a lot of that stormwater will seep into the ground, replenishing the water table. That's a good thing. With that requirement from NPDES, we revised our drainage policy in 2008 to more or less to discourage these pipe projects and to try to clear up some of the ambiguity that was already in the original policy. Unfortunately, it still left a lot to be required. A lot to be desired anyway. It's kind of hard to say we discourage the installation of these pipe projects, but at the same time we'll do it. Here's how we do it. So it left some property owners feeling like that they were somehow not receiving the services that are outlined in the policy. So we really do need to clear up this policy, and with all of that in mind, and especially with the storms that we had earlier this year, it brought up an awful lot of drainage requests. And Gary Palmer, who's not with us tonight, he did a very thorough and very exhaustive study of other municipalities, how they handle a drainage policy like this, what are state laws that determine who is responsible for drainage ways, whether it's the town or the property owner. And we have redrafted that drainage policy. That is attachment B in your handout, that makes everything a lot more clear, reduces the ambiguity, and keeps us from some of these gray areas that are sometimes very difficult to explain to property owners. Essentially, it limits the town's responsibility for maintenance of drainage facilities to the town's right-of-way and public property. That is in keeping with the city of Knoxville and Knox County, and really most of the other municipalities that we checked on. So staff recommendation is approval of this revised stormwater drainage policy.
Any comments from the board? If not, do I hear a motion that we approve the revised stormwater drainage policy?
Approved.
Thank you. A second? I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.